everybody. Welcome back to Next Generation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Roman Bostic, and today we are going to be talking about the NFL Draft. That is right. We have officially wrapped up day 1 and day 2, and we'll be moving into day 3 today. But I'm going to be grading every single draft pick from the first round. So without further ado, I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and let's get into it. To start, let's talk about the first overall pick, Travon Walker, defensive end from Georgia. I think I'm going to have to give this pick a B+. Travon Walker definitely has the potential. He definitely has the upside. However, he's a player who most people had going maybe at the end, about pick 15, middle, maybe probably not cracking even the top 10. However, Travon Walker, in this case, goes number 1 due to a very high combine, had 9.5 sacks last year, and the Jags are drafting him purely off of potential. However, they had a very, very good plethora of players, a lot of which I think are a lot better than Walker. Hutchinson was on the board. Sauce Gardner, who I think could be one of the best players that we've seen, but more on that later, was still on the board. You had some great offensive linemen like Evan Neal. You still had Ike Ekwonu still on the board. There were a lot of players on the board, and honestly, I feel like it was just a reach, so they're going to be getting a B. For the next one, the Detroit Lions selected Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher from Michigan. I give this pick an A+. This is who I thought was going to be the number 1 pick. Hutchinson went to high school in Michigan, played college ball for Michigan, is now playing on the Michigan team. Solid player. He's probably one of the most pro-ready players in this class and should be able to wreak havoc and help a defensive line that was pretty lackluster. I mean, can you guys really name any current Lions D linemen? At number 3, the Texans select Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback, LSU. I think this one is probably a B. And the reason why it's a B is because Stingley is very boomer bust. I thought that he was going to go later in the round, maybe to the Seahawks at 9. But let's be real. Stingley had that one freshman season, injuries, and then not a lot else. Every time someone shows Stingley tape, it's always of his freshman season. I never see anything from the current seasons, and that worries me. Maybe he just had a super good freshman season. However, if he brings what he brought as a freshman to the NFL right now, then I really don't think that they can go wrong here. Stingley has the potential to be one of the best players in the class or one of the biggest busts of all time. But we'll figure that out as the season goes on. Now, number 4, the New York Jets select Ahmad Sauce Gardner-Johnson, cornerback, Cincinnati. One of my favorite players. I really want to see him succeed. I love Sauce Gardner, man. He's just an electrifying player. I had him going here in a few mock drafts. Great lockdown and will definitely help us Jets defense that was one of the worst in the league. At number 5, the New York Giants select Kayvon Thibodeaux, edge rusher, Oregon. The Giants at number 5 take a player that was projected earlier in the year, at least, to go number 1 overall, and they take him this late in the draft. I think that's an absolute W for the Giants. Thibodeaux is one of the most athletic players in the draft. He's very versatile and can play multiple positions on the D-line. Very good pick. I give this pick a B+. And if I didn't mention it, Sauce Gardner, it was an A pick. The next pick, the Carolina Panthers select Ikem Ekwonu, offensive lineman, North Carolina State. This was a very, very, very solid pick. I think that Ikem Ekwonu might be one of the best offensive linemen in the class. I think that the Panthers definitely struck right here. Quarterback was an issue, but reaching on Malik Willis, who, let's be real, fell really far in the draft, surprisingly, to the Tennessee Titans. But for Ikem Ekwonu to go right here, I think that was a solid pick and the right pick for the Carolina Panthers. I give this pick an A. The next pick, the New York Giants select Evan Neal, offensive lineman, Alabama. The next offensive lineman off the board is going to be an A+ grade. In fact, this Giants draft is one of the best that we've seen come out. They select Evan Neal, who was supposed to go number 1 earlier in the draft before, obviously, free agency and all that. But man, the Giants select 2 great players who should be able to make instant impacts. And really, I think that they will be able to do a lot with this A- player. That's the grade I'm giving him. Evan Neal has a very high ceiling, very low floor. With the number 8 pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Drake London, wide receiver, USC. I think this is a very, very solid pick. Falcons obviously need wide receiver. Their number one wide receiver at the moment is Olamide Zaccheaus. So now you actually get a player to play that position. Obviously, Calvin Ridley suspended for the year due to the gambling issues. We all know that by now. But what we see with this team now is a 6'5" Drake London and a 6'6" Kyle Pitts, both of who are pretty fast, and then Cordell Patterson. Mariota has some weapons to work with here. Maybe some of the best weapons he's had, but probably not. I give this Drake London pick an A. No picks have got an A+, except for Aiden Hutchinson. The next pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Charles Cross, Mississippi State, offensive lineman. You take the offensive lineman now once you trade Russell Wilson away. Fitting. But I think that Cross is a very solid player, one of my favorite offensive linemen in this class. 3 offensive linemen already off the board at number 9. Cross will receive an A- from me. The New York Jets, coming back in at number 10, are going to select Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State. This is an A pick. In a wide receiver loaded class, we have reports that the Niners officially tried to trade Deebo Samuel for the 10th overall pick, only for the Jets to decline. The reason why they probably declined is, well, Garrett Wilson has potential to be better than Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel has only had 1 year where he was good and refuses to do the thing that made him good. He doesn't want to be running the football anymore, and you don't have to pay him as much. I think it's an A pick, very solid player, one of the best wide receivers in the class. With the next pick, the New Orleans Saints traded up with the Washington Commanders to select Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. I think this is a very solid pick. Back-to-back Ohio State receivers going off the board. Really love Olave, but now you've got to think, this has to be it. Jameis Winston, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. You have the weapons, put it all together, Saints, and go get yourself some success and notoriety again. Again, after that, the Lions made a trade to trade up to number 12 with the Vikings and select Jameson Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. This was I don't really want to say great trade, but for the Lions, they were able to move up and select arguably the best wide receiver in the class. Aside from that ACL injury, he probably would have been picked first. And they also send the Packers. They don't let the Packers take a good wide receiver. It's going to mean that players and teams start to pick wide receiver. They hurt the Packers, and they get a win. I give this pick an A-. Chris Olave was also an A- as well. The next one, the Eagles traded up for Jordan Davis, defensive tackle, Georgia. This is a B- pick. I get why you would do it, really. But moving up 2 spots and trading any draft capital at all for 2 teams, the Texans were up next and the Ravens were up next. Ravens aren't going to go D-tackle most likely, and neither are the Texans. Could have waited there. And Jordan Davis, though he might be fast, is a good compliment to Fletcher Cox, but not probably the guy I would have gone with, personally. And the next pick is those same Baltimore Ravens, who select Kyle Hamilton, safety, Notre Dame, A+ pick, a top 5 prospect, falling into the laps of the Ravens at number 14. He will complement a great secondary already with Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, and hopefully that Ravens team can come back from injury and be absolutely locked down. With the next pick, the Houston Texans select Kenyon Green, offensive lineman, Texas A&M. The Texans select probably one of the best offensive guards in the class in Green. This is probably an A, B+ pick, somewhere in that range, A- to B+ pick. I think it's a solid need. Protect Davis Mills. Don't let him get sacked. Don't let him get hit. Great pick. And it shows that they're really trying to invest in this young quarterback and see what he can do in year 2. Now with the Washington Commanders, they select Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. This is a C+ deal here. They did have to move back due to the trade with the Saints that sent them going back about 5 spots, but Dotson really was a reach. I don't think that they expected wide receivers to go off the board as fast as they did. We saw Garrett Wilson go off the board, then Chris Olave, and then Jameson Williams. I don't think they anticipated that. But they do go Dotson, who has the potential to be great, but I don't think that was the spot to take him. For the next pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Zion Johnson, offensive lineman, Boston College. Great player, should basically protect your young stud in Justin Herbert, which I think is their main goal in making this pick, to protect Herbert and open up some running lanes for Eckler. I give this pick a B+, solid pick. The next pick, the Tennessee Titans, who made a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles involving A.J. Brown. So the Titans are shipping on A.J. Brown for this player. The Titans select Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. I think this is a C- pick. I would have just paid Brown, if I'm being honest. Burks is unproven. We don't know what he's going to do. We don't know how skilled he's going to be. However, if he does have the upside and ends up being better than Brown, this could be a lot better. However, I really just don't see this panning out as much as I do. Burks, I love. He could be great in the system, especially great with Vrabel. But A.J. Brown was probably the better prospect here. And you probably could have gotten, a better season with a proven player than going and taking a risk. Now, the next pick off the board is the New Orleans Saints, who select Trevor Penning, offensive lineman, Northern Iowa. Great pick, A- pick here, B+. They select someone to replace Teron Armstead, who left in free agency for the Dolphins, as you might know. I think it's a very solid pick, allows them to do some very good things, allows them to maybe open up the running lanes for Kamara. Solid pick. I give this a B+. The next pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenny Pickett, quarterback, Pittsburgh. I think this is a B+ make here. I think it was a great pick. One of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in this draft. They didn't have to trade up to go for him, and they got him at pick 20. Now, what we saw with the quarterback class was something that I don't think a lot of us were expecting. Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, both of those players falling very far into the rounds. Malik Willis in the 3rd round, which I don't really think anyone expected. 3rd quarterback taken off the board. Ridder was taken ahead of Malik Willis, so I don't really know how to feel about that one, but the Titans probably are feeling pretty happy about it. Anyway, back to the Steelers. Pickett has all the traits you need. He can follow up in the footsteps, rest behind, Mitchell Trubisky, maybe gain some experience, although Mitch Trubisky probably isn't the best to gain experience by. He needs to gain some experience of his own. But the next pick, the Kansas City Chiefs made a trade with the New England Patriots to select Trent McDuffie, cornerback, Washington. I think this is a C+ trade and a C+ deal. I think that the Chiefs probably could have benefited from going wide receiver here. Granted, the wide receiver class is very thin, but I would have thought a man like George Pickens would be a very solid pick here. But Trent McDuffie, he's a bit undersized, but I think he'll be able to do pretty well in that Chiefs offense. I hope he doesn't, though, so we don't get locked up. Well, the next pick, the Green Bay Packers select Quay Walker, linebacker from Georgia. This is an interesting pick. Devin Lloyd's still on the board. Nakobe Dean still on the board, but as we know now, Nakobe Dean had refused to get surgery, and that is what caused his draft stock to plummet. I think this is a solid pick, C+, B-. I think there are a lot more issues the Packers could have addressed. I think they could have done a lot better with this pick, but it is what they ended up picking, and I guess bolster that defense. The next pick, the Buffalo Bills select Kaiir Elam, quarterback, Florida. I think this is a B pick. I think they drafted a cornerback, which is great. That's exactly what I would have drafted if I was them, but I don't think they drafted the right cornerback. I think they probably should have gone Daxton Hill. I think he fits their system better. He hits harder. He can move back to safety if you need him to. But I give this deal and this pick a B-. With the Dallas Cowboys, they select Tyler Smith, offensive lineman, Tulsa. I give this one a C+. I think that Linderbaum probably was a better pick. You really need to fix up your interior, but Smith definitely helps on a struggling offensive line. He can move in to play that tackle spot opposite of Tyron Smith. The Smith guys, Tyler and Tyron, will be able to pancake people if Tyler Smith pans out, but let's just hope he does. Speaking of Tyler, at the pick 25 in the NFL draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Tyler Linderbaum, offensive lineman, Iowa. I really like Linderbaum. I think this is an A- pick. Linderbaum was one of the guys I had expected to go a bit higher in this draft. Not surprised he fell. I had him going to the Cowboys at 24, but I really think that Linderbaum was a great pick here. The Ravens come out with a very, very solid draft with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, two of the best at their positions. However, it did come at a cost. We have to also understand here that the Ravens did end up making a trade. So with one of their picks, the pick that they used, I'm pretty sure, to select Tyler Linderbaum was actually the result of a trade for Marquise Brown. Now, I think that they fleeced him, which is why the grade is what it is, but you do need to get wide receiver now. That was already an issue. So what? Now you've got Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay as your top two wide receivers. Not terrible, but It needs to get better. For the next pick in the NFL draft, the New York Jets traded up to select Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher from Florida State, A- pick here. Johnson, projected to be top 15, falls into the laps of the Jets at 26. They had to make a trade up to get him, but I think it was a very well-warranted trade up to select Jermaine Johnson, A- pick. With the 27th pick, the Jags trade up into the first round with the Buccaneers to select Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. A pick, didn't expect Lloyd to fall this far. Kind of think that the Packers might have made a mistake going Walker, but definitely a great pick for this Jacksonville team, building up that defense alongside Trayvon Walker. Well, the next pick, speaking of the Packers, they select defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt. I think that's a C+ pick. I think there are definitely more pressing needs, especially with players like Daxton Hill and Lewis Cine on the board. I think both of those could have been great fits in this Packers system, but I digress. Wyatt will be able to play opposite of Kenny Clark, and I think that Wyatt and Clark would be a great pass rushing interior D-line duo. I think that they'll be able to get great things done. I just don't know if this was the pick to do it. Maybe trade back. Well, the next pick in the NFL draft, pick 29, the New England Patriots select Cole Strange, offensive lineman, Chattanooga. That's a very strange pick right there from Bill Belichick. That's going to order him a D-. I think Strange could have been easily taken if they really wanted to in the second or third round. Probably could have gone something better. Maybe edge rusher like George Karlaftis. Again, Daxton Hill, who I'm super high on if you guys haven't understood that yet. He needs someone to replace J.C. Jackson. Just a terrible pick, in my opinion. Who knows? He might have some Belichick magic and become the best guard of all time. But with the next pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select George Karlaftis, edge rusher from Purdue. I think that's a B+ pick. Karlaftis was probably projected to go a lot higher than 30, but he fell right into their laps, and the Chiefs probably are pretty thankful for that one. Next pick is Daxton Hill, quarterback from Michigan, going to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Karlaftis pick, following this one up, Daxton Hill, I think, is an A- selection, probably a B+ if I'm being real. I just have a Daxton Hill bias. Daxton Hill is super fast. He can play cornerback and safety and totally fills that Eli Apple void. So you don't have to have a piece of burnt toast on your field when you're trying to play something called defense. But the final pick in this draft, pick 32, the Minnesota Vikings select Lewis Cine, safety, Georgia. B-. I think there are definitely bigger things they could have gone with, but having Cine and Harrison Smith next to each other, Smith can mentor him into a great safety, and that duo might be pretty scary. But that is going to do it for this video. My name has been Roman Bostic. You guys have been watching Next Generation Sports Talk. I will catch you guys next time, but until then, peace out.